listener production.
Hi, Natarsha Belling with you and welcome to the afternoon edition of The Briefing. Coming up in our deep dive, the next generation calling our bosses and leaders to account over climate change. We take a look at the new campaign making a real difference. But first, let's check the afternoon headlines this Friday, the 1st of August. It seems Australia has escaped a feared increase in US tariffs, with Donald Trump finally confirming the tax for various countries. The baseline tariff on Australian exports will remain at 10%, despite the US president's suggestion earlier this week that it could increase to 20%. Australia is among a small group of countries, including Britain and Brazil, granted the lowest possible rate. Others have fared much worse, including Canada, with their goods increasing from 25 to 35%. The Australian government says any tariff on local exports is unjustified and will continue to push for their removal under the two countries' free trade agreement. Here is the Trade Minister Don Farrell addressing the media after President Trump's announcement.
What this decision means, in conjunction with all of the other changes to other countries, is that Australian products are now more competitive into the American market. This means products like wine, like beef, like lamb, like wheat, in a relative sense, are cheaper into the United States.
A warning, the details in this following story are disturbing. A Western Australian woman found guilty of giving birth to a baby that was later discovered in a freezer has avoided going to prison. 35-year-old Monique Ellen Burton gave birth at her home in 2022 before putting the baby boy into a garbage bag. It's believed her partner later discovered the body and then placed it in a freezer. Methamphetamines were detected in the little boy's system after a police investigation. The judge believes the baby could have been stillborn. Burton was sentenced to a 19-month suspended jail sentence. She has also pled guilty to a number of fraud offences relating to a GoFundMe page. And Father Chris Riley, founder of charity group Youth Off the Streets, has passed away at the age of 70. Father Riley was named New South Wales Australian of the Year and also received an Order of Australia. He passed away at home after a long period of ill health. Now it's time to get into our deep dive on the exciting new campaign to tackle climate change. Australian filmmaker Damon Gameau has released a new documentary which follows the Future Council and its incredibly important mission to change the world. 8 children jumped on a bus for an epic adventure across Europe, calling on companies and leaders of today to step up and make a difference.
The mission of our yellow bus was now crystal clear. They love the thought of challenging powerful companies to value nature. Let's do it! Right, so you're about to hold your first Future Council.
Why do you keep giving money to fossil fuel companies?
That's a very good question.
Great question.
It was obvious that while our actions are stealing their future,
Plastic!
our inaction is stealing their present.
I don't really want to talk right now.
What do you think you can do better in order to help save our future?
There's very limited impact we can have just on our own.
You're the third biggest polluter on the planet. You are not a powerful leader. You are a disgrace.
Along for the ride was also Jimmy Barnes's granddaughter, 15-year-old Australian teenager Ruby Rodgers. She's also recorded a special cover of Coldplay's Fix You for the documentary. Damon, Ruby, thank you so much for joining us. First question to you, Damon. Why did you want to embark on this incredible project?
Well, when I finished doing 2040, we took that film around the world and did a lot of classroom screenings. And I was pretty blown away at the level of acumen of children of this generation in terms of sustainability and their knowledge. And they just get exposed to so much information now, but they've got nowhere to express it. And so it really felt like there was an opportunity to let them be heard, to tell their story, introduce them to some CEOs that they might want to have, interesting conversations with, and find ways for them to meet each other, network together and start to actively shape and design their own future. Because other than protesting on the streets, there's no way for them to actually have a say in their future right now.
I've watched the trailer for this new movie, and one of the questions, Ruby, that one of the children actually asked or has actually said was, I don't think there is a future. How do you feel about climate change and the future of our world right now?
It's really daunting and it's pretty scary to think about. And I think the scariest part is the fact that we're like just watching everything like break down and seeing adults and people in positions of power not doing anything about it. And I think that's the most disappointing part, knowing that there is so much that could be done that just isn't being done because of either a lack of caring or just, I don't know, it's just ignoring the problem and putting it on future generations instead of taking accountability.
I saw one of the questions that the children asked a CEO or a leader in the boardroom was, what are you doing about climate change? And I'm paraphrasing, but I think the response was, I can't do anything about it right now. How do you feel about that, Ruby, when you get an answer like that?
I think it's a lie because I think you can start right now. You can start with small things in your life. And I understand sometimes, especially in big companies, I'm not a CEO of a company. I have no idea how to do it. I've never claimed to be able to, but I have an opinion and I have suggestions and I'm willing to learn and talk through things. And I think you just have to kind of work things out. And I think what would make some great CEOs and leaders is the people who aren't afraid of that challenge and are willing to make those steps and quickly, because it shows that they care. And if they can be a big CEO and care at the same time, I think that's incredible. And hopefully there are some people out there who are willing to do that.
Damon, what an incredible privilege for you to have this journey with these extraordinary children. Tell us about what you actually did, because the film basically covers that journey that you had with these children to be part of this really important think tank to call companies and leaders to account. What did you think when you were going through this journey?
Yeah, it was pretty magical. I think it's the most hopeful project I've done. Just even in the audition process, we had about 1,300 children apply and they all sent in videos, and we could have taken 500 kids easily on the trip. So it was quite hard to distill it down to these 8. But just going through their videos and seeing the depth of their care and how articulate they were on this subject, it just gave me a sense of like when they do get into positions of power, they're going to do things very differently. So I guess the journey was constantly full of joy, seeing the honesty, especially the expression of emotion from the children that I think a lot of adults, certainly when they watch the film, the kids almost give them permission to have a big cry about the state of the world. And I think if more people did that, we'd actually move into action a lot easier. I think a lot of the overwhelm people are feeling, we've got so many outlets to distract ourselves, whether it's Netflix or scrolling, that we're not actually feeling the reality of so many things that are going on right now. Whereas the children are very good at just expressing that. And they do that in the film. And I watch audiences actually let go with the children. And then they move into a place where they can take action and start to do the next steps. And I don't think enough people are sitting with that right now, which is why we're a bit stuck.
We know in our world right now, even over recent elections, climate change became a political football with governments right around the world, even here in Australia, not taking action. Yeah. It is overwhelming when you look at the statistics and when you look at what we've got to jump over as a country, as a nation, as a world. Tell us why we need to have hope and we can take action.
But I think a lot of people wouldn't understand that climate policy or environmental policy, it hasn't failed. It's actually been defeated. It's been actively defeated by huge amounts of money right around the world, very coordinated, very strategic, and they've done a brilliant job of changing the narrative. So we haven't taken the action we need. But I think what's happening is nature, Mother Nature herself, is actually going to force us to change because this stuff's not going to go away. And so eventually it will be impossible to deny the realities of what's happening because we will start to see it as we are now all around us. It will affect our own lives. So I think I have enormous hope there in that once humans, and history shows this, once we really understand how our backs are against the wall, we have an incredible capability of galvanising and coming together and doing extraordinary things that might have seemed impossible 50 years before. You think of the abolitionists, the suffragettes. These are great examples that humanity can make huge changes. We saw it in COVID in the first 3 weeks. We flipped the whole system in a few weeks. So I do think that one day, whenever that happens, I really hope that it's in my lifetime and very quickly, we've got the people that have done the work. The solutions are available. They're all there waiting, lined up, ready to be implemented. So when that time does come, and it might happen even with these young children when they're leaders, that we'll be able to actually switch things very quickly, embed nature more into our economy, start to regenerate our landscapes, our waterways. All that thing is very possible because nature has, its default is to regenerate, is to bounce back and heal. It wants to heal. We're just sort of holding it at bay at the moment. But the minute we step away or work with it, I think we can turn things around very quickly.
Damon, I think what is a great reflection of a great leader, whether that's a political leader or a CEO of a company or a manager or whatever that may be, is it's not to be focused on profits. It's to be focused on people and a good culture and to actually make a difference, to have emotional intelligence and courage to make a difference.
Yeah, and we need that in spades right now. I think that this is what the children, I think, learnt as well, is that there are some really beautiful people working inside these big companies like Nestle, ING, all the ones we took them to. But they feel a bit trapped and stuck by a system, by the incentives of this current system, which is to please shareholders, is to grow exponentially. All these things are working against us as humans and us as the planet. And we've got great things out of that system, but we're getting feedback now from the planet that we have to change our ways. And I think what we haven't done as well as we could have, and this comes back to storytelling as well, is that if we're not showing people what this better world can look like, they're going to retreat to fear. They're going to vote for people that promise to make things great again because that's familiar and it's comfortable. So we need those leaders you're talking about at all levels, business, political, to paint this vision of a better future and say there is a world where more of us can benefit, our communities can thrive again, and we can live in more harmony with nature. And we just need more of those people to step up right now, which I think the children are doing, ironically.
Ruby, for you, what do you see as the future leader? Like when you were speaking to some of these leaders, whether that's the boss of a corporation or a political leader, and you were asking these tough questions, what do you think a great leader is?
I think a great leader is someone who can really step outside of themselves and just the business aspect. And I think it's really important, you're a CEO, you're a powerful person and in a position of such power. But if you can't step outside of that and look at the community and the people around you and our environment and your surrounding environment, it's just, there's only so much you can do. And I just think it's so important to have that sense of community and to listen to those around you and to take constructive criticism and take it well and learn from that and not be afraid to try something different in hopes for a better future, in hopes of creating some change, because that's when you start to build something better and something new, is when you go outside of your comfort zone. And I think us as kids, we do that a lot. We have to adapt to a lot of new things as we grow up into adulthood. But I think as I'm starting to grow up, I really want to keep my childhood innocence and curiosity and passion with me, because I think that's what will keep me going as an artist and also just as a future leader and someone who wants to have a voice in these things. And just reconnecting yourself back to that feeling you have when you're a kid. So,
Ruby, you just mentioned there that you are an artist as well. So you were not only involved in this life-changing experience to make a real difference with our climate crisis, but you're also an incredible artist. Now, on the trailer, you recorded a soundtrack of a Coldplay song, your version of it.
Lights will guide you home and ignite your bolt, and I will try to fix you.
And you're actually Jimmy Barnes's granddaughter.
Yeah.
So you come from this extraordinarily talented family, but tell us about this experience to create your own version of Fix You for this project.
I mean, Fix You is such a beautiful song in itself. I love Coldplay. I had the opportunity of being able to go to the Coldplay concert in Sydney, and it's just so inspiring seeing such big artists having such humanity and really practicing what they preach, and they care about the environment, they're vocal about it, and they show that through their music and on tour. And I think a lot of artists need to learn from that, because it's possible and it can be done and it needs to be done. And so when we got the idea to do a cover of Fix You for the trailer and as a part of the film, I was all in straight away. I love Coldplay. I love Fix You. It's a beautiful song, and I think the lyrics can really be transposed into this film. And it's really I really connect to it, both for the film and also just the song in itself. And I think that can connect to a lot of people because people take lyrics and transpose it into their own lives all the time. And people see and hear lyrics differently. And I think Fix You can really be about fixing our environment, fixing what we've made such a mess of our world. And I think, Fix You is just the perfect song to encapsulate what we could be doing better and how we can do it together. So, yeah.
Damon, you've said pretty incredible, isn't she, Ruby?
It's wild.
I think we're in good hands.
This is why we need a future council.
Yeah, exactly. You've said that this is the most important project you've ever encountered or been part of. Is that right?
Yeah. And I think it's more, not so much the film, but halfway through the film, the children sort of said, look, we don't want this to be contained to just this film. How do we access other children just like us around the world and give them this opportunity? So with the children, we've set up this sort of not-for-profit. It's got a COO, it's got board members now, and it's basically recruiting children from around the world to continue working and collaborating with companies. And they design regenerative products that they can use, and we take a percentage of those profits that goes back into the fund, and the kids get to vote where that money goes towards nature repair projects. So I just think about in 20 years what this might look like if we're working with multiple companies, all sorts of revenue coming in. The kids get to design their future and alleviate their anxiety at the same time. And the companies also get to work with the future generations who will eventually be buying their products. So it's just a lovely win. And it just feels like there's so much magic behind this. The people that are coming in right from around the world to support this, really interesting people stepping up to want to grow the Future Council. So I think it's going to be a part of our lives for a while, and we're just at the very beginning.
Congratulations to both of you. Ruby, congratulations.
Thank
We're
you.
in pretty good hands. You're an inspiration.
Thank you.
And Damon, thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
That was Damon Gameau and Ruby Rodgers. Their documentary, Future Council, is out in cinemas next week. And that's it for this episode of the afternoon edition of The Briefing. We'll be back tomorrow with the weekend briefing, where Antoinette is joined by comedian Maz Jobrani.
I actually did a show the other day, and I did a show in Hermosa Beach, California, and my audiences tend to be very, immigrant-y. There's Iranians and Lebanese and Asian and Indian and Pakistani, and then there's, obviously the white people from that country as well. But at one point in the show, I said, "Oh my God!" I go, "Can you imagine?" This is like a fantasy for ICE. Like they could just walk, they're probably outside waiting. They're going, there's a room full of them, we just deport all of them. Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad.
We'd love you to subscribe or follow us on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast. I'm Natarsha Belling. See you next time.